If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Today's Classic Radio Theater is going to be something a little special. And the main reason we're doing it is there's a very special program that airs today during our 2-hour block of classic radio programs. And it is what ended up inspiring me to do the show we're doing today. Because 65 years ago today, you still had 2 hours every Sunday where you could enjoy classic radio. Radio was evolving. It was becoming a news and music medium. By that, you by and large had news on the hour, or 20 and 40, whatever the particular station did, or 5 before the hour. But then you had mostly music, disc jockeys. There were occasions where you still had innovation. NBC's Monitor, which by and large was a music and news program. Although much of the music, there was music that was live during those shows, but it was by and large records. And there was still a 2-hour block from 5 until 7 Eastern Time that did classic radio out of Hollywood. Now, CBS wanted that changed dramatically. They wanted it, the 2-hour block, to come out of New York because it was cheaper. And CBS finally ended up going to 1 hour out of New York, which was yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in Suspense. And coming up today, you're going to hear that. You're going to hear that 4-hour block, a 2-hour block, although I'm switching a couple of things around because the biggest show of the lot I want you to hear first, and that is the 8th and final performance of Lucille Fletcher's Sorry Wrong Number as it aired on Suspense. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, from that same date. Also, Have Gun Will Travel, and Gunsmoke. Those shows aired with Johnny Dollar first, then Suspense, then Have Gun Will Travel and Gunsmoke from 5 until 7 Eastern Time. And also Pacific Time, interestingly. I noted, I checked on the newspapers of the day and found that KNX was running the block from 5 until 7 Pacific Time. So there you go. But we'll have that for you. And I'll take a look at the radio logs here, too, in a little bit. But the first thing I want to do is do what we normally do to start off our show, which is tell you what happened on the 14th day of February in history. This is the 45th day of the year. 320 days left till we get to 2026. 1803, Chief Justice John Marshall declared that any act of Congress which conflicted with the Constitution was void. Now, in New York City on this date in 1849, James Knox Polk became the first president to have his photograph taken. In 1854, Texas was linked by telegraph with the rest of the United States with the completion of a connection between New Orleans and Marshall, Texas. Oregon admitted as the 33rd state of the Union on this date in 1859, and in 1876, both Alexander Graham Bell and Elijah Gray applied for patents for the telephone on the same day. In 1886, the first trainload of oranges left Los Angeles via the Transcontinental Railroad. In 1899, voting machines approved by Congress for use in federal elections. And in 1903, the Department of Commerce and Labor established. It would later be split into two departments. Arizona admitted as the 48th state of the Union on this date in 1912. Also on that same date in 1912 in Groton, Connecticut, the first diesel-powered submarine commissioned. In 1918, Tarzan of the Apes, the first movie featuring Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan character, was released. In 1920, the League of Women Voters founded in Chicago, and the 1924, the International Business Machines Corporation founded, IBM. In 1929, 7 gangster rivals of Al Capone murdered in Chicago in the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. President Roosevelt met with King Saud of Saudi Arabia on this date in 1945 aboard the USS Quincy, officially starting the U.S.-Saudi diplomatic relationship. In 1962, on this date, First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy took television viewers on a tour of the White House.
I feel so strongly that the White House should have as fine a collection of American pictures as possible. It's so important, the setting in which the presidency is presented to the world, to foreign visitors, and American people should be proud of it. We had such a great civilization that so many foreigners don't realize it.
The film showed Jackie Kennedy on a tour of the House with the CBS News correspondent Charles Collingwood. The film toured the first glimpse the American public had of the $2 million restoration of the White House that Kennedy had helped direct in the first year of her husband's presidency. The program, viewed by 80 million viewers and globally syndicated to 50 countries, including Russia and China. Was on this date in 1980, Walter Cronkite announced his retirement from the CBS Evening News. His last day in the anchor chair at CBS Evening News was on March 6th of 1981. In 1989, Union Carbide agreed to pay $470 million to the Indian government for damages it caused in the 1984 Bhopal disaster. In 1989, Iranian leader Ruhollah Khomeini issued a fatwa encouraging Muslims to kill the author of the Satanic Verses, Salman Rushdie. In 1989, the first of 24 satellites of the Global Positioning System placed into orbit. If you knew how much space junk was up there, it's crazy. I wish there was a way that we always worry about litter in our own land and on the ground. I wish we could worry about the litter in space, because that's a disaster waiting to happen. Now, it was on this date in 2005, Lebanon's former Prime Minister Rafik Hariri assassinated, prompting the country to fall into chaos and division. Explosives equivalent to around 1,800 kilograms of dynamite detonated as his motorcade drove past the St. George Hotel in the Lebanese capital, Beirut.
His murder is an attempt to stifle these efforts to build an independent, sovereign Lebanon free of foreign domination.
Now, the investigation, believed to have been linked to the Syrian government, still ongoing to this day. Also on this date in 2005, 7 people killed, 151 wounded in a series of bombings by suspected al-Qaeda-linked militants that hit the Philippines' Makati Financial District in Metro Manila, Davao City, and General Santos City. In 2005, on this date, YouTube, launched by a group of college students, eventually becoming the largest video sharing website in the world and a main source for viral videos.
We've seen on our site where users are becoming discovered. This is now giving people a new opportunity to be seen, and that's what we see ourselves as creating a stage for everyone to participate on.
Co-founder Chad Hurley, who along with Steve Chen and Jawed Karim, 3 former employees of PayPal, founded the organization, and it would eventually be acquired by Google. Second most visited website in the world after the Google search engine. And it is an interesting site to this day. 2008, Northern Illinois University a gunman opened fire in a lecture hall of the DeKalb County, Illinois University, resulting in 6 fatalities, including the gunman, and 21 injuries. It was on this date in 2013, South African Paralympic star Oscar Pistorius, the Blade Runner, charged with murder in the death of his girlfriend. This police spokesman said there had been previous episodes of domestic violence.
I can confirm that there has previously been incidents at the home of Mr. Oscar Pistorius.
Pistorius released from prison in January of 2024 after being convicted of murder and serving nearly 9 years of a 13-year, 5-month sentence. And it was on this date in 2018, a gunman identified as former student Nicholas Cruz opened fire at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, killing 17 people. This student described the attack.
I was in the freshman building, first floor, and he went up and down the hallway, just banging and shooting into the classrooms. He shot through my door and broke the window.
Nicholas Cruz pled guilty to murder in October of 2021 and sentenced in November 2022 to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And I'll say this, and you can disagree with me if you like, but the biggest problem with gun violence is not the guns. It's the people holding the guns. And it's the people who have had... We have a mental health crisis in the world today, not just in America. Because in countries where there are gun controls or no guns, you see knife attacks. You see people driving cars into crowds. It's not just guns. It's a mental health crisis. Passing away on this date in history, the Saint Valentine, this date marked Valentine's Day. That's why he passed away on this date. Also, writer P.G. Wodehouse, composer Frederick Lowe, presidential advisor John Ehrlichman, singer Buddy Knox, who sang about his party doll. Also, drummer-composer Louis Bellson, pianist-composer George Shearing, and singer-songwriter Dory Previn. This also is the birth date of the legend. You know who I'm talking about. Benjamin Kubelski. You know him as Jack Benny. Taken from us far too soon. Born in 1894, he passed away in 1974 at the age of 39. Sports reporter Mel Allen, also born on this date. Labor leader Jimmy Hoffa, whom we're pretty sure he's passed. We don't know. His body has never been found. He was the chief on Get Smart. Edward Platt, born on this date. Hugh Downs, a wonderful television host, not just a newsman, but he was a genteel talk. I would love to have seen him in a talk format. Hugh Downs passed away in 2020 at the age of 99. Vic Morrow, actor also born on this date in history. The last of the McGuire sisters, Phyllis McGuire, born on this date. Actress Florence Henderson and Gregory Hines, all born on this date in history.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
The non-talking half of the Penn and Teller Comedy Magic team, Teller, 77 years old today. Rip Rogers, who was a journeyman wrestler for years, trainer in Ohio Valley Wrestling, and still training people to this date. He's 71 years old. Canadian actress Meg Tilly, 65. From Shaun of the Dead, Simon Pegg is 55 today.
Seeing as I've just committed an act of treason against a Starfleet admiral, I'd really like to get off this bloody shit. Now beam me out.
Pegg as Montgomery Scott, Scotty in Star Trek Into Darkness. Pegg, by the way, also played supporting characters in Doctor Who and Star Wars The Force Awakens, what Radio Times called the holy grail of nerddom, playing those three roles. Simon Pegg, 55 today. Pro wrestler Tommy Dreamer, who had his biggest claim in Extreme Championship Wrestling, worked in WWE, in the ring and behind the scenes, and now is a behind-the-scenes major player in TNA Wrestling. 54 years old today. He also hosts, one of the hosts of Busted Open Radio on Sirius XM. 54 is Tommy today. Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20 is 53. From The Walking Dead and Black Panther, Denai Gurrier is 47. And from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Bates Motel, and The Good Doctor, Freddie Highmore is 33. Those just a few of the people who celebrate Valentine's Day, the 14th day of February, as their birthday. If this is your birthday,
happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Coming up in the next 2 hours, we are going to have the radio shows of this date 65 years ago today. It's February 14th, 1960. We start off at 5:30 on CBS with an episode of Suspense, a classic.
Civil defense is common sense. This is Fred McMurray. Home shelters can be built for as little as $100. Simple plans for building inexpensive home shelters are available free from your Civil Defense office. Ask for a copy of the Family Fallout Shelter booklet.
These civil defense announcements are very, very appropriate today, as these aired during this particular time period. You know that. This is the 8th and final presentation of Lucille Fletcher's most renowned radio work, 17 years after its first performance, starring Agnes Moorehead. Sorry, Wrong Number. And this was broadcast at 5:30 Eastern and Pacific Time on Sunday, February 14th, 1960, 65 years ago today.
Radio 59, WROW, first on the dial, serving Albany, Troy, and Schenectady. Radio 59 times, 5:30.
Suspense. On May 25th, 1943, a great radio play was performed on Suspense and carried on CBS Radio. That now famous radio play has been transferred to other media as well: television, motion pictures, recordings, and the stage. The title was Sorry, Wrong Number, and it was written by Lucille Fletcher and originally starred Agnes Moorehead. We revive that radio classic now with the same star of 17 years ago. Listen then to Agnes Moorehead in Sorry, Wrong Number, which begins in 1 minute. Remember how much racket automobiles used to make? Time was you practically had to bellow to make yourself heard above the chatter and roar of the engine, the howl of the wind rushing by, and the rattling a rough road gave your poor old buggy and brains. Well, nowadays, with vastly improved automotive engineering and magnificent new superhighways, you literally purr along the road. Now, this is a vast improvement, but one that can offer danger if you're not alert. You're sitting behind the wheel with the miles of highway unrolling smoothly before you. Suddenly, a sharp curve jumps in front of you, and you find you have to use the skill of a professional racer to navigate the curve without getting into real big trouble. Your car was so quiet that your speed had crept up stealthily during those long miles of straightaway. You were burning along without realizing it. The point here, a simple one, is this. Your speedometer was put there for a purpose you can't afford to forget. Keep alert, take care, and get there.
And now, Sorry, Wrong Number, starring Miss Agnes Moorehead. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Operator, I've been dialing Murray Hill 40599 now for the last 3/4 of an hour, and the line is always busy. I don't see how it could be busy that long. Will you try it for me, please?
I will be glad to try that number for you. One moment, please.
You see, it's my husband's office. He's working late tonight, and I'm all alone here in the house. My health is very poor, and I've been feeling so nervous all day.
I am ringing Murray Hill 40599.
Hello?
Hello? Hello, is Mr. Stevenson there?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello, George? Yes, boss, this is George speaking.
Hello, who's this? What number is this, please?
I'm here with our client. Oh, good. Is everything set up for tonight?
Well,
yes, George. He says everything is set up. Good.
What number is this, please?
Where are you now? In a phone booth. Don't worry, everything is okay in my department. Very well. You got the address? Sure, I got it all cased. At 11 o'clock, the private patrolman goes around to a bar on 2nd Avenue for a beer. Yes. At 11:15, a train crosses the bridge. It makes a noise in case her window is open and she should scream.
Hello?
Remember, George, make it quick. Our client doesn't wish her to suffer long. I'll use a knife, then. Yes, a knife will do very well. And remember afterwards, remove her rings and bracelets and the jewelry in the bureau drawer. Our client wishes it to look like simple robbery. I know. Don't worry. I never muff a job like this. Everything's okay. I never...
Oh, how awful. How unspeakably awful. Operator, I've just been cut off.
I'm sorry. What number were you calling?
Why, it was supposed to be Murray Hill 40599, but it wasn't. Some wires must have got crossed, and I was cut into a wrong number, and I've just heard the most dreadful things. Something about a murder. And, operator, you'll simply have to trace that call at once.
What was the number?
Well, I don't know. It was a wrong number, and these two men, they were cold-blooded fiends, and they were going to murder somebody, some poor, innocent woman who was all alone in a house near a bridge. We've got to stop them.
What number were you calling?
Well, that doesn't matter. It was a wrong number. Now, look, it was obviously a case of some little slip of the finger. I asked you to get me Murray Hill 40599. You dialed it, but your finger must have slipped. And I was connected with some other number. I could hear them, but they couldn't hear me. Now, I simply fail to see why you couldn't make that same mistake again on purpose, why you couldn't try to dial Murray Hill 40599 in the same sort of careless way.
Murray Hill 40599. I will try to get it for you.
Well, thank you. Oh, dear.
I'm sorry, Murray Hill 40599 is busy.
But, operator...
Yes, ma'am?
You didn't try to get that wrong number at all. I asked you explicitly, and all you did was dial correctly.
I'm sorry. I will connect you with the supervisor.
Well, please.
This is the supervisor. May I help you?
Yes, I want you to trace a call, a telephone call, immediately. I don't know where it came from or who was making it, but it's absolutely necessary that it be traced, because it was about a murder that someone's planning. A terrible, cold-blooded murder of a poor, innocent woman, tonight, at 11:15.
I see.
Well, can you trace it for me? Can you track down those men?
I'm not certain. I can try. May I have your name, please?
Mrs. Stevenson, Mrs. Elbert Stevenson. But listen...
And your telephone number, please?
Plaza 37599. But if you go on wasting all this time...
Why do you want this call traced, please?
Why? Well, I told you why. These men sounded like killers. They're dangerous. They're going to murder this woman at 11:15 tonight, and I thought the police ought to know.
Have you reported this to the police?
Well, no, not yet.
You want this call checked purely as a private individual?
Well, yes, but meanwhile...
I'm sorry, Mrs. Stevenson, but I'm afraid we couldn't trace the call just on your say-so as a private individual.
Oh.
We'd have to have something more official.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Well, all right, I'll call the police.
Thank you. I'm sure that would be the best way to get...
Oh, ridiculous.
The second act of Suspense continues in 1 minute.
Meet star Stuart Irwin.
Nothing's worse for an actor than a nasty cold. To feel better quickly, I take wonderful 4-way cold tablets, the fast way to relieve cold distress.
Right. Tests of all the leading cold tablets proved 4-way fastest acting. 4-way starts in minutes to relieve muscular pains, headache, reduce fever, calm upset stomach, also overcomes irregularity.
Take my advice. For your next cold, take 4-way cold tablets, the fast way to relieve those cold miseries.
4-way, only 29 cents.
Our program will continue in a moment after a word about another fine product of Grove Laboratories. Had dandruff for years? Now get rid of it in 3 minutes with Fitch Dandruff Remover Shampoo. 3 minutes with Fitch regularly is guaranteed to keep unsightly dandruff away forever. Apply Fitch before wetting hair, rub in 1 minute. Add water, lather 1 minute, then rinse 1 minute. Every trace of dandruff goes down the drain. 3 minutes with Fitch, embarrassing dandruff's gone. Fitch can also leave hair up to 35% brighter. Get Fitch Dandruff Remover Shampoo today.
And now, we continue with Act 2 of Sorry, Wrong Number, starring Miss Agnes Moorehead. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Operator?
The police department. Get me the police department, please.
Thank you. I will connect you with the police department.
Oh, dear. Do you have to dial? Can't you ring them directly?
Police Station, Precinct 43, Sergeant Martin speaking.
Police department? Oh, this is Mrs. Stevenson. Mrs. Elbert Smythe Stevenson of 53 North Sutton Place. I'm calling up to report a murder. I mean, the murder hasn't been committed yet, but I overheard plans for it over the telephone, over a wrong number that the operator gave me.
Yes, ma'am.
It was a perfectly definite murder. I heard their plans distinctly. 2 men were talking, and they were going to murder some woman at 11:15 tonight. She lived in a house near a bridge. Are you listening to me?
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a private patrolman on the street. He was going to go around for a beer on 2nd Avenue, and there was some third man, a client, who was paying to have this poor woman murdered. They were going to take her rings and bracelets and use a knife. Well, it's just unnerved me dreadfully, and I'm not well.
I see, and when was all this, ma'am?
About 8 minutes ago.
And what was that number you were calling?
Murray Hill 40599, but that wasn't the number I overheard. I mean, Murray Hill 40599 is my husband's office. He's working late tonight, and I was trying to reach him to ask him to come home. I'm an invalid, you know, and it's the maid's night off, and I hate to be alone, even though he says I'm perfectly safe as long as I have the telephone right beside my bed.
Well, we'll look into it, Mrs. Stevenson, see if we can check it with the telephone company.
Check it! I've already taken care of that.
Oh, you have?
Yes, and personally I feel you ought to do something far more immediate and drastic than just check the call. I'd say the whole thing calls for a search. A complete and thorough search of the whole city. I'm very near the bridge, and I'm not far from 2nd Avenue, and I know I'd feel a whole lot better if you sent around a radio car to this neighborhood at once.
And what makes you think the murder's going to be committed in your neighborhood, ma'am?
Well, I don't know. Only the coincidence is so horrible. 2nd Avenue, the patrolman, the bridge.
Look, lady, why don't you look at it this way? Supposing you hadn't broken in on that telephone call. Supposing you'd got your husband the way you always do. You wouldn't be so upset, would you?
Well, I suppose not, only it sounded so inhuman, so cold-blooded.
Unless, of course, you have some reason for thinking that someone may be planning to murder you.
Me? Oh, no, I hardly think so. I mean, why should anybody? I'm alone all day and night. I see nobody except my maid, Eloise. She's a big girl. She weighs 200 pounds. She's too lazy to bring up my breakfast tray. And the only other person is my husband, Albert. He's just crazy about me, just adores me. Waits on me hand and foot. Has scarcely left my side since I took sick 12 years ago.
Well, then there's nothing for you to worry about. Now, if you'll just leave the rest of this to us, we'll take care of it.
But what will you do? It's so late. It's nearly 11 now.
We'll take care of it, lady.
Well, will you broadcast it all over the city and send out squads? And warn your radio cars to watch out, especially in suspicious neighborhoods like mine.
Look, lady, I said we'd take care of it. Just now I've got a couple of trunks here that require my immediate attention. Good night, ma'am, and thank you.
Oh, you idiot. Oh. Now, why did I hang up the phone like that? Now he'll think I am a fool. Oh, why doesn't Albert come home? Why doesn't he? Get the operator again.
Operator?
Operator, for heaven's sake, will you ring that Murray Hill 40599 number again? I can't think what's keeping him so long.
I will try it for you.
Try.
I'm sorry, Murray Hill 40599 is busy.
I can hear it. You don't have to tell me. I know it's busy. Oh, if I could only get out of this bed for a little while. If I could just get a breath of fresh air or just lean out of the window and see the street. Oh. Hello, Albert? what's the matter with this phone. Hello? Hello? What in the world? Hello? Hello? Oh, for heaven's sake, who is this? Hello? 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 What in the world? What are they trying to do to me anyway?
Operator.
Hello, operator. I don't know what's the matter with this telephone tonight, but it's positively driving me crazy. I've never seen such inefficient, miserable service. Now, look, I'm an invalid, and I'm very nervous, and I'm not supposed to be annoyed. But if this keeps on much longer...
What seems to be the trouble, please?
Well, everything's wrong. I haven't had one bit of satisfaction out of one call I've made this evening. The whole world could be murdered for all you people care, and now my phone keeps ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing every 5 seconds, and when I pick it up, there's no one there.
I'm sorry. If you will hang up, I will test it for you.
I don't want you to test it for me. I want you to put that call through, whoever it is, at once.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
You can't. Oh, you can't. And why? Why, may I ask?
The dial system is automatic.
Automatic. And meanwhile, I've got to sit here in my bed suffering every time that phone rings, imagining everything.
I will try to check the trouble for you.
Oh, for heaven's sake, I'm going to go out of my mind. Hello! Hello, stop ringing me. Do you hear? Answer me. Who is this? Do you realize you're driving me crazy? Who's calling me? What are you doing it for? Now, stop it! Stop it! Stop it! I say, hello! If you don't stop ringing me, I'm going to call the police. You hear? The police! If Albert would only come home. Oh, let it ring. Go on, ring. It's a trick of some kind. I won't answer that one. Go on, ring, ring, ring.
Act 3 of Suspense follows in 1 minute.
At this moment, it's beyond mankind's capacity to guess what will occupy the attention of CBS Radio's Bob and Ray tomorrow night. It's possible they may be investigating such matters as the molecular structure of money, or giving the recipe for vulcanized bison. Perhaps distinguished correspondent Wally Ballou may take us via the magic of radio to the broom garage of a witch. Or we may receive a report on our feathered friends from the Bird Lady, whose discourse on the drag-tailed blockbuster recently created unparalleled apathy among bird watchers from coast to coast. Actually, you may not hear any of these matters. If you're courageous, though, take potluck with the boys. Anything they serve up is full of chuckles. That's Bob and Ray, weeknights at this spot on your radio dial. Laugh along, too, with Amos and Andy Griffith, and Burns and Allen on Comedy Time, Monday through Friday on CBS Radio.
And now, we continue with Act 3 of Sorry, Wrong Number, starring Miss Agnes Moorehead. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
What do you want? Stop ringing, will you? Stop it, just stop.
Hello, is this Plaza 37599?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sorry, this is Plaza 37599.
This is Western Union. I have a telegram here from Mrs. Albert Stevenson.
Oh, well, I'm Mrs. Stevenson.
The telegram is as follows. Darling, terribly sorry. Tried to get you for last hour, but line busy.
Oh.
Leaving for Boston 11 p.m. tonight on urgent business.
Oh, no.
Back tomorrow afternoon. Keep happy. Love, signed Albert.
Oh, no.
Do you wish us to deliver a copy of the message?
No, thank you.
Thank you, madam. Good night.
Good night. Oh, no. I don't believe it. He couldn't do it. Not when he knows I'll be all alone. It's some trick, some fiendish trick. Operator, try that Murray Hill 40599 number for me just once more, please.
You may dial that number direct.
Oh, I can't. No one will do anything for me. Oh, it's got to be there. Oh, he's gone. Oh, Albert, how could you? How could you? I can't be alone tonight. I just can't. If I'm alone one more second, I'll go mad. I don't care what he says or what the expense is. I'm a sick woman. I'm entitled to a little consideration. Information. I want the telephone number of Henchley Hospital.
Henchley Hospital? Do you have the street address?
No, but it's somewhere in the 70s. It's a very small, private, and exclusive hospital where I had my appendix out 2 years ago. Henchley, H-E-N-C.
1 moment, please.
Well, please hurry, and please, what is the time?
You may find out the time by dialing Meridian 71212.
Oh, for heaven's sake, I've no time to be dialing.
The Henchley Hospital is Butterfield 8.
Butterfield
2598.
Oh, Butterfield 8. 2, 5, 9, 8.
Henchley Hospital, good evening.
Nurses' registry, please.
Who was it you wished to speak to, please?
I want the nurses' registry at once. I want a trained nurse. I want to hire her immediately for the night.
I see. And what is the nature of the case, madam?
Nerves! I'm very nervous. I need soothing and companionship. You see, my husband is away.
Have you been recommended to us by any doctor in particular, madam?
No.
And our superintendent has asked us to send people out only in those cases where the physician in charge feels it is absolutely necessary.
Well, it is absolutely necessary. I'm a sick woman. I'm very upset. I'm alone in this house, and I'm an invalid. And tonight I overheard a telephone conversation that upset me dreadfully. In fact, if someone doesn't come at once, I'm afraid I'll go out of my mind.
I see. Well, I'll speak to Miss Phillips as soon as she comes in.
Miss Phillips?
And what is your name, madam?
When do you expect her in?
Well, I really couldn't say. She went out to supper at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock? But it's not 11 yet. Where's my clock? Oh, my clock has stopped. Oh, what time is it?
Just 15 minutes past 11.
Oh, what was that?
What, madam?
That click, just now, in my own telephone. As though someone has lifted the receiver off the hook of the extension phone downstairs.
I didn't hear it, madam. Now about...
But I did! There's someone in this house. Someone downstairs in the kitchen, and they're listening to me now. I won't pick it up. I won't let them hear me. I'll be quiet and unhealthy. But if I don't call someone now, while they're still down there, there'll be no time. I've got to get the operator. I've got to get the operator.
Operator?
Operator, I'm in desperate trouble.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. Please speak louder.
I don't dare. There's someone listening. Can you hear me now?
I'm sorry.
But you've got to hear me. Oh, please, you've got to help me. There's someone in this house. Someone who's going to murder me, and you've got to get in touch with them. There it is. Did you hear it? He's put it down. He's put down the extension phone. He's coming up. He's coming up the stairs. Oh, give me the police department. Give me the police department.
1 moment, please. I will connect you.
Please. Get the police. Somebody's got to hurry. Get the police, please. Oh, what do you want? Oh, don't come near me. Please, I haven't hurt anybody. Please, please don't hurt me. Please, I haven't done anything.
Police Department, Precinct 43, Sergeant Martin speaking. Police Department, Precinct 43, Sergeant Martin speaking.
Police Department? Sorry, wrong number. Don't worry, everything is okay here.
Suspense, in which Miss Agnes Moorehead starred in William N. Robeson's production of Sorry, Wrong Number, written by Lucille Fletcher. In a moment, the names of our supporting players and a word about next week's story of Suspense.
Are you all out of tune because you're irregular?
Then help yourself get back in tune with Kellogg's All Bran. You'll feel right on pitch when Kellogg's All Bran goes gently to work. Relieves constipation due to lack of bulk by supplying your system with bulk-forming whole bran. Yes, a daily bowlful of Kellogg's All Bran with milk helps put you right back in tune. The natural way. The good-tasting way, too. Fact is, Kellogg's All Bran is the one bran cereal that combines proved effectiveness with appetizing taste and crispness. It never gets mushy in milk. So remember, if constipation's a problem, gentle it away, as millions do, with Kellogg's All Bran. The good food way to keep regular as clockwork. ALL-BRAN. Kellogg's All Bran. At your grocer's.
Supporting Miss Moorehead in Sorry, Wrong Number were Jeanette Nolan, Virginia Gregg, Ellen Morgan, Joe DeSantis, Byron Kane, and Norm Alden.
Listen again next week when we return with The Crank Letter by Walter Black. Another tale well calculated to keep you in suspense. Listen every week to Suspense on CBS.
Many of the shows we have from the 50s and 60s up to the end are only available to us thanks to a gentleman by the name of Pat Rispole. Rispole had himself a nice reel-to-reel tape recorder, and he recorded a lot of things off the radio, including Suspense, Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar, a lot of shows. We have, I think in the past, we aired 4 shows from November 17th, 1957, in which he had a number of shows from there, Indictment, and a couple of shows that we wouldn't have copies of if it was not for Pat Rispole. And God rest his soul for one of the things he did in keeping classic radio alive. In regards to Agnes Moorehead, this is the 8th production and final production of Sorry, Wrong Number on Suspense. Each time she did the show, she worked from her original script, and very earmarked, very dog-eared, very penciled up, but it was kind of her way of staying connected to that cranky old character. Alrighty, first of 4 shows from our feature day this week, Sunday, February 14th, 1960, airing at 5:30 Eastern Time on CBS, Eastern and Pacific Time. I can say that this time because KNX ran the shows also on the West Coast from 5 until 7. Quick break here for a couple of messages, and we will have a look at the news from this date 65 years ago.
Civil defense is common sense. Hi, this is Tony Bennett. Make sure you're prepared if a nuclear attack ever comes.
You know, the interesting part is while I have these 4 shows, most of them had a newscast attached to them. I know that the Yours Truly Johnny Dollar show did. I know Have Gun Will Travel did. That ran before the shows, but we don't have those recordings, and I wish I did. Instead, I'm just going to do my best to give you the headlines from the newspapers of this date 65 years ago here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Soviet Deputy Premier Anastas I. Mikoyan signed a huge trade pact with Prime Minister Fidel Castro, making the Soviet Union Cuba's second largest customer behind the United States. Ending a 10-day trade and sightseeing tour of Cuba, Mikoyan took off for Gander, Newfoundland, en route to Oslo and home. Cuban leaders hailed the new trade agreement, under which the Soviet Union buys a fifth of Cuba's annual sugar crop, as the first step toward closer Soviet-Cuban relations. The desolate sands of a North African desert have yielded up the bodies of 5 members of the Lady Be Good bomber crew after nearly 17 years. Their 4 buddies may lie buried somewhere nearby in the shifting sands of the Libyan desert. The Air Force yesterday announced an oil exploration party found the bodies of 5 members of the crew that failed to return from a World War II bombing mission over Italy on April 4, 1943. They lay about 85 miles from the spot where the Lady Be Good's almost intact frame was discovered by chance 10 months ago. Argentinian naval and air forces have trapped a second mystery submarine, this one apparently undamaged, in the Bay of Golfo Nuevo, the naval ministry announcing yesterday. The Argentinian Navy racing against an approaching storm, which might give the subs a chance to escape. The naval ministry communique confirmed previous reports that a second submarine had sneaked into the 40 by 20 mile bay on Argentina's Patagonian course. It said one of the subs was apparently damaged. The other appeared to be operating normally. U.S. District Judge Royce H. Savage yesterday freed 29 major oil companies of criminal charges that they conspired to raise and fix crude oil and gasoline prices. The ruling came on a motion for acquittal filed by the companies after the federal government had completed its antitrust case early last week in Tulsa. Judge Savage said, "I have an absolute conviction, even personally, that the defendants are not guilty of the charges. The government had tried to prove the companies conspired to raise prices in January 1957, using the Suez Canal crisis as a pretext for the price hike. The companies contend the government did not prove its case." The explosion of a French atomic bomb in the Sahara Desert pulls up a chair for France at the nuclear control talks now being held at Geneva among the U.S., Britain, and the Soviet Union. George Garrett, writing from the foreign desk, says it also places General Charles de Gaulle on a pedestal along with Winston Churchill as one of the powerful men of the century who steered their nations from the edge of disaster to new triumphs. Most importantly, it puts Soviet Russia on a radioactive hotspot. Already outvoted 2-1 by the U.S. and Britain on nuclear policy, it faces a 3-1 majority as France becomes a member of the exclusive nuclear club. France, the exultant newcomer to the ranks of the world's atomic powers, declared last night it will build a striking force of nuclear weapons to assure its national independence. The announcement came amid widespread criticism in other parts of the world over France's test explosion of an atomic device in the Sahara early yesterday. Amid the predictable protests from communists, Africans, and neutralists, there were firm words of admiration for the French scientists who made their country the world's 4th atomic power. President Eisenhower informed of the test at his home in Gettysburg, where he's spending the weekend. The State Department issued a brief statement avoiding congratulations and remarking only that the event had been foreseen. Senator Kenneth B. Keating, the Republican of New York, last night gave Kentucky Republicans a Lincoln dinner preview of what he called the Democrats' 1950 auto show. He lined up these Democrat presidential contenders as models for the Democrat convention in Los Angeles. Senate Democrat leader Lyndon B. Johnson, the Lyndon, a made-in-Texas car, powered by oil with a certain mixture of natural gas. He said this is the only Democrat model that is Rayburnized with a built-in speaker, and he said it has climate control, which can vary messages for North and South. Senator Hubert Humphrey, the Democrat of Minnesota, the Hubert, which Keating said was especially designed as the plain people's car. He added it's known as the Volkswagen. This model, the only one created in Detroit, is Rutherized and has amazing acceleration, the reference to the United Auto Workers head Ruther. From a standing start, it can roar up to 300 words a minute in less than 5 seconds. And Senator John F. Kennedy, Democrat of Massachusetts, the Jackmobile. Keating called this the dashing dreamboat type that appeals especially to very young people. He added a great deal of money has gone into the development of this model. Little touches like real gold instead of chrome give the Jackmobile a standout appearance in any crowd. From a marketing point of view, the drawback is that the people who are its potential buyer are too young to get driver's licenses. And the Senator Stuart Symington, the Democrat of Missouri, the new stew. An example of what a man can turn out just by tinkering in his own garage. Actually, some people thought this car would never run, sort of a paradox too, because the designer had always been preoccupied with objects exceeding the speed of sound, but he never managed to get the sound of speed out of his own little experiment. And referencing former President Harry Truman, the GOP senator added, "One day, this kindly old mechanic from Independence moseys in, looks things over, and suggests they install a new drive shaft and shift from low octane to high octane. Result? Fantastic. The new stew now has forward speed." Jack Parr, who quit his television show in a huff, has received an apology from the National Broadcasting Company for censorship of his show without his knowledge. NBC released last night a letter from Robert Kintner, network president, saying that the fact Parr was not told in advance of the deletion of an anecdote from his recorded show was inexcusable. The letter defended, however, the decision to delete the joke. NBC released the letter after Parr disclosed the existence of it during a news conference earlier last night. The comedian said the letter had not altered his desire to give up his 4-night-a-week late-night show. Kintner's letter said the NBC president wanted to apologize to you in behalf of NBC for the fact that you were not advised a part of the tape of your show was being deleted. It urged Parr to think of the other people involved in the show as well as his faithful viewers and to put this unfortunate incident behind you. I hope you will think of all of them, Jack, and decide to come back to us. And country singer Johnny Cash, former sidekick of Elvis Presley, says the wiggly singer probably will change his style when he's released from the Army next month. Joe Finnegan, writing for United Press International, quotes Cash as saying the rock and roll type singing he did before going into the service isn't popular anymore. He'll just have to adjust to the new style. Elvis had a rock and roll guitar sound in his act, but now singers use more saxophones, violins, and rhythm sections to put a tune across. Actually, I think he'll do better when he comes back. He shouldn't have any trouble. He's made some recordings with big orchestras before. Also, I don't believe he'll do country tunes when he gets out. He'll probably sing Frank Sinatra-type melodies. Those some of the day's news stories as reported in the newspapers of Sunday, February 14th, 1960, 65 years ago today. Johnny was a little off on that, don't you think? Anyway, coming up next, we continue with shows from that date. Our second from 5 o'clock Eastern Time, yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Civil defense is common sense. This is Joni James. After nuclear attack, while radioactive fallout will be a potential threat to every living thing. You can't hear or smell or taste fallout. Often you can't see it, so you must take shelter and stay there until told it's safe to leave.
Now we back up a little bit to 5 p.m. Eastern Time and Pacific Time. 65 years ago today, February 14th, 1960, Bob Bailey, as yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Johnny Dollar.
Harry McQueen, Mid-Eastern Indemnity Corporation.
Now, I'm glad you called, Harry.
What?
I've just been waiting for a chance to run down to New York, have some fun, taking a few shows and some nightlife. On expense account, of course.
Now, look, we'll pay the expense account, but not for a lot of theaters and nightclubs.
Spoil sport.
Johnny, can you come down here right away?
Sure.
Good.
What's the trouble, Harry?
Dan Diamond.
Dan Diamond?
That's right.
Well, nice talking to you.
Now, what's that mean?
It means I suddenly think I have an important assignment in Podunker, Timbuktu.
You mean you're afraid to get involved with our friend Mr. Diamond? Ah,
It's
Johnny.
just that I relish the thought of maybe living to a happy middle age is all. Don't you remember what happened on that bank job over in Amityville?
Oh, I remember.
Not only a bank guard, but a police officer and the investigator from the insurance company. All of them suddenly turned their loving wives into widows.
I know.
Diamond. So he's still in business, huh?
Well, apparently not. And I use that word advisedly. Apparently
Apparently, he's retired from his career of crime and is growing orchids at his little home in Long Beach, California.
Yeah,
That is-
on the dough from that Amityville job.
That is when he's out there.
Oh, where is he now?
Right here in New York City, and he just happens to have lifted some $75,000 from a small but expensive jewelry store.
Then lock him up and throw the key away.
I'm afraid it's not that easy. What's more, we want that $75,000 back. Well?
Sorry, Harry.
You, realize what your commission would be on a $75,000 recovery? And after all, Johnny, with an unlimited expense account to go on... Johnny?
Okay, Harry. Maybe I'll run on down there and see you.
CBS Radio brings you Bob Bailey in the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Mideastern Indemnity Corporation, New York City. The following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the P.O. matter. So who wants to tangle with a character like Danny Diamond? But that bait Harry McQueen dangled in front of me was too much to refuse. Expense account item 1770 for a train to New York and a cab to his office on Park Avenue.
Friday afternoon, Johnny, week before last. They were about to send a pile of money over to the bank.
And?
Diamond simply walked in, put a gun on the man at the vault, made him crawl under a table, and then scooped up the $75,000 and slipped out into the street before the vault man could hit the alarm button. Easy as that.
That's a lot of money to walk around with.
He was careful to take it mostly in $50 and $100 bills.
The vault man didn't try to put up a fight?
Against Danny Diamond? And get killed for sure?
Well, how'd he know who he was?
Danny told him.
He what?
Just like he identified himself on that Amityville job you mentioned, like he did on every job he ever pulled. We were lucky that no one got killed on this one.
You said he's here in New York. Where?
I understand the PD is going to release him sometime today.
Release him?
That's right. Thanks to a smart lawyer, an alibi they can't seem to break, and, well, let's face it, lack of evidence.
You mean the money?
That's exactly what I mean. And, of course, it's that money that we're primarily interested in. Well, Johnny?
Who's handling this for the police department?
Man over at the 18th Precinct, Lieutenant Singer.
Randy Singer?
Yeah, that's the one.
But he's in homicide.
Well, I don't know about that. But I know he's the top man on this case.
Why? There's been no killing.
Johnny, why don't you ask him?
Yeah. Why don't I?
Because on nearly every previous job that Dapper Danny pulled, there was a killing. And I was assigned to him. I got to know him and his routine, his methods better than anybody else in town.
But not well enough to nail him down.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's true. Anyway, they made a special out of this one and put me on it.
And from the way you say that, Randy, you haven't got very far.
Johnny, I haven't got to first base. Oh, sure, we locked him up on suspicion, got the DA to really cloud up and rain all over him, but thanks to that smart mouthpiece he hired and an alibi so solid you couldn't smash it with a hydrogen bomb.
Plus, no sign of the money.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, they're letting him loose, and he'll go back to California free as a bird, and 75 G's to the good.
You sure it was Danny Diamond pulled this one, huh?
Well, everything, Johnny. His perfect timing, his modus operandi, that egotistical trick of identifying himself, the description of him, his doing it solo, the fact he didn't stash it away in a bank. I've checked every bank in town. Well, everything, Johnny, says it's him.
You mean it's he? What's your English, Randy?
Oh, English, to heck with it. Him's the I mean, he's the one that did it. But unless we can lay our hands on that $75,000...
Have you checked out where he's been staying?
What, are you kidding? I went over with a fine-tooth comb. Nothing in his hotel room, his luggage, no little package left in the hotel, save nothing. He gave us a list of where he's been, what he's done since he got in town, and it all checked out to the minute.
Yet somehow he managed to stash away that wad of money.
Yeah, you find it, Johnny, and we'll nail him.
Now, what's to have stopped him from passing it to some pal for safekeeping?
No, Johnny.
You sure of that?
No, Diamond works alone. He'd no more let anybody else have a gander at that money. Why, Danny wouldn't trust it with anybody short of the United States government. And I'm sure he isn't turning any of it over to Uncle Sam.
Ask me, Randy, you got a pretty thin case against him.
Yeah, but I'd bet my own life that he did this job. And if you or I or anybody can find that dough on him or anywhere near him...
You'll nail him.
You said it. You want to take a crack at him?
Mighty thin case, though.
Johnny?
Okay, if you're so sure that he's the one, Randy, well, that's good enough for me.
Oh, what are you going to do?
Answer your phone.
Oh, sure. Singer. Yeah? Yeah? Well, where'd he... Okay, then all I can do is alert somebody out where he lives to... Yeah. They let him go, Johnny. He's on his way.
To where?
Who knows?
Okay, then I'm on my way.
Yeah, where? What are you going to do?
To coin a real corny one, California, here I come.
Here's Hollywood star Mona Freeman.
Who feels like acting with a miserable cold? I relieve cold distress the fast way with 4-way cold tablets.
Yes, tests of all the leading cold tablets proved 4-way fastest acting. Amazing 4-way starts in minutes to relieve muscular pains and headache, reduce fever, calm upset stomach, also overcomes irregularity.
When a cold strikes, do what I do. Take 4-way cold tablets. It's the fast way to relieve nasty cold distress and feel better quickly.
4-way, only 29 cents.
Now, here's a word about another fine product of Grove Laboratories. To get rid of embarrassing dandruff in 3 minutes, change to Fitch Dandruff Remover Shampoo. 3 minutes with Fitch regularly is guaranteed to keep unsightly dandruff away forever. Apply Fitch before wetting hair. Rub in 1 minute. Add water, lather 1 minute. Then rinse 1 minute. Every trace of dandruff goes down the drain. 3 minutes with Fitch and embarrassing dandruff's gone. At the same time, Fitch can brighten hair up to 35%. Get Fitch Dandruff Remover Shampoo today. And now, Act 2 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the P.O. Matter.
I got a recent picture and a complete description of Danny Diamond from Lieutenant Randy Singer.
And I'll find out who you ought to contact there at the PD in Long Beach, Johnny, and send you a telegram.
Then I spent item 2, $166.25 for a plane ticket to Los Angeles. When I got aboard, I began to think that maybe I'd fallen into some luck for a change. And not for the usual reason. Though, of course, I'd hoped to find myself next to a gorgeous blonde with ideas and plenty of time on her hands. No, it was because the passenger sitting right next to me, holding a big dispatch case in his lap, and I mean holding onto it, was none other than...
Diamond's the name. Danny Diamond. What's yours, mister?
It's Reynolds. Jerry Reynolds.
Oh. For a minute, I thought there was something familiar. I guess I was wrong.
But, haven't I heard about you somewhere?
Oh, I don't know why not. Danny Diamond? Dapper Danny, they call me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you probably read about me in the papers. Lousy bunch of New York cops trying to hang that jewelry store heist on me.
Yeah, something like $75,000, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's going to keep somebody real happy for a long, long time, Mr. What'd you say your name is?
Reynolds. Jerry Reynolds.
Yeah. Try to pin that on Danny Diamond, huh? I'd like to see him pin anything on me. And not because I haven't been trying. Trying for years, Johnny.
It's Jerry.
Yeah, that's what I meant. But they're wasting their time. Just like they're wasting their time trying to find that 75 G's.
Hey, look, don't get me wrong, Mr. Diamond.
Call me Danny.
But the way you're hanging on to that dispatch case, you'd think it was loaded with,
Yeah? Yeah, what about it?
Nothing. Just forget I mentioned it.
Yeah. And don't you get me wrong. But maybe you'll stay a lot happier, let's say, if you forget that you mentioned it, too.
Well, now, look, Danny,
Just forget it.
Sure. Why not? You live in Los Angeles?
No. Long Beach. Why?
Oh, I just wondered.
Yeah. What are you going to L.A. for?
Oh, just to spend some time with an old pal of mine.
Huh? Who? Where's he live?
Section of L.A. called Westwood Village. It's out beyond Beverly Hills.
Yeah, I know. What's his name?
Well, now, look, does it make any difference?
Maybe I know. Maybe we got mutual friends. What's his name?
Johnstone.
Johnstone?
That's right, Jack Johnstone.
What's he do?
Oh, he's a writer, among other things.
I don't know. Moving pictures?
Radio, television.
Radio, huh?
That's right.
I don't know.
I hardly thought you would.
Something kind of familiar about that name, though. See, I listen to radio, you know what I mean?
Doesn't everybody?
See, look, I'm going back in the galley, see if I can pry another drink out of that blonde stewardess.
Well, I doubt if you'll have any luck, but go ahead.
Just leave it to me. You want me to bring you one?
Why not? If you can.
Leave it to me.
He carefully set the dispatch case on the seat. But as he swung back up the aisle, he kept half looking over his shoulder. If I picked it up and tried to open it, he'd know exactly what I was doing. Even as he stood there talking to the stewardess, trying to force some money on her, he kept his eyes on me. But I had to find out what was in that case. And what I could do was keep looking out the window and with one hand open the clasps on it. That much he couldn't see. And when he came back to his seat with his hands full, all I'd have to do...
How dumb can they be? Those chicks would make a lot of extra dough. Make a lot of friends, too, if they forget the rules now and then with that liquor they got back there.
Well, sit down. Don't worry about it.
Hey, wait a minute. 2 seats up, that guy sneaking a bottle out of his coat. I'll bet you a 10-spot will get that for you and me. Wait and see.
But again, he kept his eyes on me, even while he passed over the money and parted the other man from his half-pint bottle and the small plastic cup he had. But this time, as he came back to his seat, his hands were full.
See? You got brains, little money, you get anything you want.
Sure. Hey, here, I'll move this case out of the way so you can go.
Say, what do you think? You clumsy, crazy jerk.
The little case was loaded, but the papers that fell out that he quickly shoved back into it were not money. No, they were clippings from the New York newspapers. Yeah, news items about the robbery. That was all. Wait, though. Was he using them in the dispatch case for a decoy? Or just to fan that ego of his?
You dumb, clumsy fool.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, huh?
Sure, of course I am.
Listen, if I thought maybe you'd done that on purpose...
Yeah? Well, forget it. Sure. Now, about that little drink you promised. Sure.
Why not?
Enjoying it less. Have a real cigarette, have a Camel. The best tobacco makes the very best smoke. Have a real cigarette, have a Camel. Are you looking for flavor and mildness? Have a real cigarette, have a Camel. The best tobacco makes the very best smoke. Have a real cigarette, a real cigarette, a real cigarette, have a Camel.
If you're smoking more today, but enjoying it less, try Camel's. The Camel blend of costly Turkish and domestic tobaccos has never been equal for rich flavor, easygoing mildness, real smoking satisfaction every time you light up. The best tobacco makes the best smoke.
Have a real cigarette, a real cigarette, a real cigarette, have a Camel.
And now, Act 3 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the P.O. matter.
There wasn't much conversation with Danny Diamond during the rest of the flight. At L.A. International Airport, after watching him pick up his luggage, I spent on him $50 deposited on a rental car and drove on down to Long Beach, hoping not to see him along the way. I didn't. I got myself a room at the Villa Riviera, then checked with Western Union.
Yes, we have, Mr. Dollar. It's from a Lieutenant Randolph Singer, NYPD, whatever that means.
New York Police Department. Will you read it to me, please?
Yes, sir, I'll be glad to. It says make contact with P.O.
P.O.?
It says make contact with P.O. Your man is Sergeant Wyman.
Oh, I get it. That was a typo. Should have been P.D.
The sender must have misspelled it.
Oh, sure. But go on, please.
Your man is Sergeant Wyman. Good luck. Signed, Randy.
That's all?
That's all.
Okay, thanks. Item 4 was 10 cents for that phone call. Then I wasted no time in getting over to police headquarters into a huddle with Sergeant Raleigh Wyman.
Dollar, we knew all about Danny Diamond. What he is, where he got his money for that house of his out on Fern Drive, and for living on. But unless he tries to pull something around here, there's nothing we can do.
I know what you mean, sir.
But if you can get something on him and make it stick, this whole town will love you dearly.
Something like that 75,000 robbery in New York?
Yeah. Oh, Lieutenant Singer told me on the phone that's what you're out here for.
That's it?
Said some pretty nice things about you, too. Well, if there's anything we can do, if you just...
There is. I want to look at not only Danny's home, but the luggage he just brought in the plane.
Well, in order to get out a search warrant.
No search warrant.
What?
Look, can you get him over here for a couple of hours before he has a chance to unpack and settle down? I made real time driving here. He ought to be arriving just about now.
Well, let me think.
Hey, call him up. Tell him you want to see him here at headquarters. Can you get him down here?
Sure. He loves to sit around here and shoot off his big mouth and try and make fools out of us. What excuse?
Oh, tell him there were some prowlers around his place while he was away. Tell him anything.
Now, look, Dollar, if you're planning what I think and without a search warrant...
Sergeant, so far as you know, all I'm going to do after I leave you here is take a nice long walk along the beach. Well, okay?
Okay, Dollar.
I drove quickly out to Danny Diamond's address on Fern Drive. A rather nice, modern little home, by the way, in a very pleasant residential section. Long Beach has a lot of nice homes, and this was one of them. I parked a couple of blocks away, and as I sauntered as casually as possible toward his place, a taxi pulled up in front of it. Out came Danny and his luggage. He paid off the driver and went in. And I waited, praying that Sergeant Wyman would call him before he had a chance to... Wyman must have done all right. Within 3 or 4 minutes, Danny came out the back door, went into the garage, then pulled away in a fancy little sports car. I went over to the back door and found, much to my surprise, that it was a real easy job to jimmy it open. Danny's handbags were still sitting by the front door. I not only went through them, but through every inch of that house, slowly, carefully, overlooking nothing. And that's exactly what I found. Nothing. Except that is for a large floor safe under one of the rugs. But I knew he hadn't had time to get to it, and besides, the dust around it showed it hadn't been opened recently. No, Randy Singer was wrong. If Danny did take that money, he must have stashed it away somewhere. Or left it with somebody, probably back in New York. Despite what Randy had said about his operating alone, trusting no one, not even the banks, about trusting no one short of the United States government. The government? Wait a minute. I beat it back to police headquarters and Sergeant Raleigh Wyman.
I kept him here just as long as I could. Danny only left a couple of minutes ago.
A couple of minutes ago, huh?
Dollar, did you find anything?
Huh?
I mean, during that, during your walk along the beach.
No. Now, listen.
Yeah?
That telegram Randy sent me.
Telegram?
Yeah. Make contact with P.O., he said.
P.O.?
Well, it was a typo. He meant to say P.D. to contact you.
Oh.
Well, it was a lucky mistake. Because, Sergeant, I may be nuts, completely nuts, but I'm betting that P.O. is the answer to this whole thing. To how he got that money out of New York, out here where he could use it.
Wait a minute.
Trust nothing short of the U.S. government, huh?
Feeling all right?
P.O. Of course. Hey, listen, you know this town where everything is.
For sure.
Then there's just one building around here I need to know the location of. And I hope I can get there before he does. The P.O. The post office I drove to was only a few blocks from Danny's home. Danny's car was parked in front of it. I slipped inside and waited behind a post. At one of the windows, he was second in line, behind a ragged-looking wino who was counting out pennies to buy a stamp.
There's 2 cents. There's 3 cents. Got another one here somewhere.
Come on, you drunken bum.
Don't go.
Hey, Clark. Oh, hello, Mr. Diamond. I have a package for you.
That's what I come for.
I've been wondering when you'd call for it. It's from New York City. Just sign here, please.
Yeah, sure.
Here.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Diamond. Here's your package.
What is that?
I came out from behind the post, bumped into the drunk, and tore at the wrapper of Danny's package.
Hey, what's the big idea?
Sorry.
It's you.
And here in the package you mail to yourself the $75,000.
No, get away. Get back.
Oh, no, Danny.
What are you trying to do on here?
Okay. Now, on your feet.
Listen, mister.
Oh, drop dead, Danny. Or maybe the state will take care of that.
Now, listen, about that money.
Forget it. Just take a look at that poor old drunk who was in front of you. That wild shot you pulled off.
Huh?
Murder, Danny. Now it's murder. So, from here on in, of course, it's in the hands of the law, the courts. As to credit for solving this one, well, actually, it all goes to a simple typographical error. Funny. Expense account total, including hotel and the trip back to Hartford, $397.70. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Our star will return in a moment.
Constipation is something people don't talk about much, but it can be a problem for anyone, even doctors. And when constipation occurs, it's interesting to see just what doctors consider important about a laxative they might use or recommend. Well, a majority of the doctors we heard from had this to say.
A laxative should be effective, gentle, as close to natural acting as possible, and a medicine that can be used with complete confidence.
Now, X-Lax has been popular with many doctors and millions of people over the years because pleasant-tasting chocolated X-Lax is effective. Overnight, it helps you toward your normal regularity. X-Lax is gentle. Next morning, it gives you the closest thing to natural action. And that's why many doctors and millions of people use X-Lax with complete confidence. X-Lax, the laxative that helps you toward your normal regularity gently, overnight. Is X-Lax in your medicine cabinet?
Now here's our star to tell you about next week's story.
Next week, a real wildie, a real strain on my sanity. But I think you'll like it. So join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, originates in Hollywood and is written, produced, and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in our cast were Virginia Gregg, Harry Bartell, Herb Vigran, James McCallion, Stacey Harris, and Gil Stratton. Be sure to join us next week, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This is John Wall speaking.
Next, a modern mystery classic, Agnes Moorehead's 8th suspense performance of Sorry, Wrong Number on the CBS Radio Network.
65 years ago today, February 14th, 1960, yours truly, Johnny Dollar. And that was clever. You got to admit it, using the post office. Of course, today it would never get there, but I shouldn't say that because that's being mean. Coming up tomorrow, on our Saturday Classic Radio Theater, we'll have comedy. Lady Esther Screen Guild Theater, They Got Me Covered, starring Bob Hope and Dorothy L'Amour. Also an episode of the Dean Martin Jerry Lewis Show with their guest William Holden. Fibber McGee and Molly Show as Fibber's faking being ill so he doesn't have to fix the screens. You know, typical Fibber. Also an episode of Father Knows Best, Valentine's Day, and Mother's going to get an orchid, one way or the other. The question is, how many orchids? And we'll have another episode of Claudia. That's all coming up tomorrow on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And then we'll have Dragnet the next day, New Adventures of Nero Wolfe, FBI and Peace and War, Barry Craig Confidential Investigator, and Superman back with it. Okay, and we'll have more in the days ahead. But right now I just want to get onto this because we're running a little long as it is with the specialty of today's show. Let's roll on in just a moment as we head out west to San Francisco. John Dehner, Have Gun Will Travel.
Listen and learn through civil defense.
This is Johnny Cash. I'd like all of you to remember that America can withstand enemy attack if we support the emergency plans of our community and learn to help ourselves. Make sure you're prepared. Contact your local civil defense office today.
Yeah, I know I'm running a little longer than I normally do here, but let's take a look at what the four stations, the networks, were running in Washington, D.C. Against these shows. For example, we told you that the CBS affiliate, WTOP, was running Johnny Dollar, Suspense, Have Gun, Will Travel, Gunsmoke, and then they followed it with Mitch Miller and the New York Philharmonic Orchestra. Over on NBC, they were running Monitor, along with Meet the Press, and of course Monitor's a great show. We've aired an hour or two of that along the way here, and hopefully we'll get some more. But the other stations, apart from news, they weren't airing much different. They were running news and sports over on the ABC station, along with some religious programs later in the evening. And the mutual station, WOL, was running what they called sensible sounds. They were, they were Athenian melodies. They were running head-to-head there, and then at 6 o'clock they went to Sensible Sounds and the Sunday Symphony. Oh, and the Mutual Reporters Roundup, which was their edition, their equivalent to Meet the Press. So, yeah, it had gone to music and that stuff. So there we go. All right, let us move on. And like I said, radio had moved so far away by 1960 of the stuff that had moved to television, or so they thought. They didn't realize there was still an audience out there. Problem was convincing the advertisers of it, because they're the ones that paid the bills. John Dehner up next here as we head out to San Francisco, California, for an episode of the only radio show born from a TV show, Have Gun, Will Travel. This is from 65 years ago today, February 14th, 1960, 6 p.m. Eastern and Pacific Time, the story of the Dollhouse in Diamond Springs.
You've asked me to kill you. I'm not an executioner, Lormer. I've been hired to take you back alive.
Have Gun, Will Travel. Starring Mr. John Dehner as Paladin. San Francisco, 1875. The Carlton Hotel, headquarters of the man called Paladin.
Yeah, who is it?
It's me, Mr. Paladin. Hey, boy.
Oh, come in.
Oh, very sorry to wake you so early, Mr. Paladin, but telegram come for you.
Yeah, well, they always come early after a late night. Let's see then.
Whoa, that was very late night you had last night.
Yes, it was.
Yes, no good to stay up until daybreak.
Sometimes it can be very interesting.
Oh, but you need sleep.
Well, it looks like I won't get any more sleep today. This telegram says the sheriff of Little Spring wants me there tonight.
Sheriff? You do something wrong in Little Spring?
No, hardly. I've never even been there. He wants to hire me for $3,000.
Oh, 3,000? Hey, you can make it?
Hey, boy, at those prices, I'd saddle an eagle to get there.
If you're suffering from a cold, medical authorities advise, whenever possible, go to bed when you first feel a cold coming on. Keep comfortably warm and protected from direct drafts and changing temperatures. Drink plenty of liquids, water, soups, milk, and fruit juices. And here's another important health tip. When you have a cold and need a laxative, That's the time to rely on gentle X-Lax. Pleasant-tasting, chocolated X-Lax helps you toward your normal regularity, gently overnight. X-Lax works where nature wants, in the lower tract, not the stomach. Taken at bedtime, X-Lax gives you the closest thing to natural action the next morning, without upset, without discomfort. And X-Lax is so effective, it continues to help. Seldom, if ever, do you need to take it again the next day. So, when you have a cold, and suffer constipation too, take X-Lax, a medicine you can use with complete confidence. X-Lax helps you toward your normal regularity, gently, overnight. X-Lax.
As I'd got off the stage, the first thing I noticed about Little Spring was the saloon. More of a gambling casino than a saloon. It was the size of a city block, and it blared and blazed in the twilight. The town had the other things a California town is supposed to have: a general store, a livery stable, a sheriff's office, and a small church pushed off in the background. I'm sure no one heard the church chimes sound the hour against the din from the casino. The sheriff's office was empty, so I pushed my way into the saloon. Say, is the sheriff here?
What do you have?
No. Is the sheriff here?
Over there. Fat fellow, white mustache. At the table with those three men.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Excuse me, lady. Thank you. Sheriff Akers?
Yes?
My name is Paladin.
Paladin? Well, glad you could make it. Let's go in the back room where we can hear ourselves talk.
Yeah, all right.
All right, in here.
Thank you.
According to what I hear, you're the best man I could have hired.
What do you want me to do, Sheriff?
I want you to find a Fred Lormer for me. He killed a man.
Well, you're a lawman. Why don't you go after him?
Oh, by this time, he's over the state line. If I wait for extradition, it'll take too long. I want him back here in Little Spring in 4 days.
4? Well, that's not much time.
I want him here in 4 days, and I want him alive.
You're asking a lot.
I'm paying a lot.
Well, why 4 days?
That's my business. You want the job?
All right, just give me time to think about it.
Listen, Paladin, you're the one man who can bring Lormer in, and I want him back to stand trial here.
Who'd he kill?
I don't think that makes any difference to you.
Well, right now it makes a difference in whether or not I go after him.
All right. Little Spring has a reform group headed by a man named Radford. Lormer killed Radford's son in this saloon Wednesday night. Then he stole the fastest horse in town and headed east. Everybody was either too drunk or too stupid to stop him, but they were all witnesses.
I see. Well, I'll let you know in a couple hours if I take the job.
You're a skeptical man, Paladin.
You can be sure of that, Sheriff. I talked to a dozen witnesses, and the stories were all the same. Radford's 20-year-old son had come into the saloon, and in a loud voice had branded gambling as evil and sinful. Lormer had been at one of the tables, and he shouted at the young man to leave. Radford refused. Lormer walked over to him. There was a slight scuffle, and then Lormer put a bullet through him. Young Radford was unarmed. Satisfied that Sheriff Akers had told me the truth, I accepted the job. In the morning, I bought a ticket for the next stage going east.
Ought to be here in another 10 minutes. Just make yourself to home on that bench over there.
I'll wait outside.
Well, have a good trip.
Thank you.
You, Mr. Paladin?
That's right.
I'm Jim Radford.
Mr. Radford?
Akers brought you down here to find Lormer, didn't he?
Yes.
You going to do it?
I'm going to try.
You'd be doing this town a great injustice. Don't bring him back, Mr. Paladin.
Well, Lormer did kill your son, didn't he?
Yes, but if you catch him, it won't bring my son back.
I've already accepted the job, Mr. Radford.
Mr. Paladin, I head a reform group in Little Spring. We've been fighting Akers for years. Now, there's going to be an election in 5 days. I'm running against Akers for sheriff. If you bring Lormer back and he hangs for the murder of my son before Election Day, Akers can point to the hanging and the people of this town will forget what went on before.
And Akers will be reelected.
Yes. You can see what kind of town he's running. But for the first time, the people have a chance to drive him and his crowd out of control and turn Little Spring into a decent community.
Well, that may be true, Mr. Radford, but I'm convinced that Lormer is a murderer, and I intend to bring him back in 4 days, alive.
If you do, I'll kill him before Akers can get near him.
Now, Mr. Radford, that would be a foolish thing to do. Then you could be hanged for murder.
Nevertheless, the people would understand, and we'd have a clean town again. I'll be waiting for you when you come back.
I'll remember that, Mr. Radford.
Are you smoking more now, but enjoying it less? Have a real cigarette, have a Camel. The best tobacco makes the very best smoke. Have a real cigarette, have a Camel. Are you looking for flavor and mildness? Have a real cigarette, have a Camel. The best tobacco makes the very best smoke. Have a real cigarette, a real cigarette, a real cigarette, have a Camel.
Again, for the 11th straight year, Camel outsold every other cigarette, filter, king size, and regular. The best tobacco makes the best smoke. So if you're smoking more now but enjoying it less, change to Camels. Get more real satisfaction every time. Start to really enjoy smoking again.
Have a real cigarette, a real cigarette, a real cigarette, have a Camel.
I followed Lormer's trail to the Nevada line, and there I rented a horse. The open desert stretched before me, and I knew now that it would be more difficult to find him. The sun was at my back, and my shadow started to creep ahead of me when I saw a small house on the thin line where fertile land gave way to wasteland. There were 2 horses grazing on the tufts of grass between the rocks behind the house. There was a large, inviting well in front. I rode up to the watering trough.
Get away.
Huh?
Get away from here.
What? Hey, put your rifle away, old man.
Get off my land, do you hear?
Say, are both those horses yours?
I didn't move out here on the edge of this inferno to have a snooper come along and ask me questions. I told you to get off my land.
Well, I'm looking for a murderer.
I ain't seen no murderer.
He passed this way.
I ain't seen no murderer.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm going to search the desert, old man. I need water. You have a well.
All right, take your water. But my rifle will be on you till you leave.
I watered my horse and continued east into the desert for almost 10 miles. And then I saw him, silhouetted by the setting sun, a big man stumbling, weaving, before his weight carried him to the ground. I dug my heels into my horse and rode to where he had fallen. You make a big trail, Lormer.
I'll put a bullet
Your running
in
is
you.
over.
I'll
Now we go
put
back. Give me that
bullet
gun.
in you.
I'll take that gun. You hear me?
Get your hands up.
You won't be needing it now.
I need water. My throat's on fire.
All right. Here.
Let me die here. A nice, clean death.
My job is to bring you back, Lormer.
Sheriff Akers sent you, didn't he? Sheriff Akers will hang me when you bring me back to Little Spring.
You'll stand trial.
Yeah, I'll stand trial. And in less than 20 minutes, they'll have me swinging from the courthouse tree. And the whole town will get drunk and celebrate. And they'll re-elect Sheriff Akers because he brought law and order to Little Spring.
Why did you kill young Radford?
He was a loudmouth preaching kid. Always shooting his mouth off in the saloon. It was bad for business. Akers had a big take from that saloon. He wanted him dead. He told me to kill him, and then he turned on me.
But I fooled him. He won't use me anymore. Kill me here and get it over with.
Come on. I want to make that well before the sun burns the skin off our backs.
What well are you talking about?
That house about 10 miles back.
We both gonna ride one horse?
What happened to yours?
I shied at a rattler. He threw me.
Now, you're a big man, Lormer. My horse would never carry the both of us in the heat. All right, you ride and I'll lead him.
It's a hot walk.
I'll manage until we get to that house.
Dandruff bothers most men, most women too. So listen. Today you can get rid of embarrassing dandruff in just 3 minutes. Yes, with Fitch Dandruff Remover Shampoo. Unsightly dandruff's gone in 3 minutes. It's the quickest, easiest of all leading shampoos. That's not all. Using Fitch regularly is guaranteed to keep embarrassing dandruff away. Simply apply in the unique Fitch manner. Before you wet hair, rub in 1 minute. This way, Fitch shampoo penetrates right down to the scalp. Next, add water. Lather 1 minute to wash every trace of dandruff out of your hair. Then rinse 1 minute. All that loosened dandruff goes down the drain. In 3 minutes, with Fitch, 1 rubbing, 1 lathering, 1 rinsing, dandruff's gone. And never forget, gentle Fitch can also leave your hair up to 35% brighter. To get rid of dandruff problems forever, brighten hair too, use Fitch regularly. Get Fitch Dandruff Remover Shampoo today, only 59 cents.
Let me sit down, Paladin. You want to go in the house, go ahead.
Lormer, when I was here before, there were 2 horses out back. Now there are 3. You changed horses here, and when the horse threw you in the desert, he came home. Is that right?
Leave me out here. I ain't got the strength to run away.
All right. I want to see that old man anyway. We need your horse back. Old man, I want to talk to you.
Paladin!
Lormer. Oh, no, you... Hey, Lormer, you... Oh, you fool. Why did you do that?
I was thirsty. The well was so close. I drank too fast.
You idiot.
Oh.
I've got to get you out of the sun now. Come on, try to stand up.
Oh.
Up, come on now.
Yeah.
All right, easy does it. Easy. I'll get you into the house now. All right, come on. Hey, oh, easy. All right, come on now, here. You can lie down here. There. Now, just rest easy now.
You got a short memory. One warning wasn't enough, was it? You come back.
Take your rifle out of my back, old man.
You ain't felt the last of this rifle.
I've got a sick man here.
Is this your murderer?
Yes.
The horse came back this morning. I was expecting you, Fred Lormer.
I didn't want to come back, Uncle. He forced me.
Your uncle? Well, you denied you'd seen him before.
I told you I hadn't seen a murderer. I didn't know Fred was a murderer.
Let me go, Uncle. I'll get as far away from here as I can.
Old man, I've got to bring Lormer back for trial in Little Spring. He killed a man there.
Fred ain't going nowhere. He's not going to hang in some public place. I'm going to kill him and bury him out back of the house. And I'm going to kill you because you know him, you know his crime, and you know he's my nephew.
What makes you judge and jury?
I watched a lot of killing during the war. I watched brother kill brother. What made them judge and jury?
You're confusing peace with war, old man.
Are the men in Little Spring fit to sit in judgment on a Lormer? No. Only a Lormer can judge a Lormer. I renounce civilization, and with it, its laws. Here, I'm the law. Now you turn around, mister. Now, loosen your gun belt and drop it to the floor. Easy now, no tricks. Now, you get up, Fred Lormer.
I can't, Uncle. My stomach.
You will get up and walk. I'll not kill you inside my house. Now, get up. Now, walk. Both of you.
You give me the gun, old man.
No!
All right, old man. Shooting's over.
Give me back my rifle. Can't you see I only winged him? He ain't dead.
That's a good thing.
I got to kill him.
There's not going to be any killing here.
No, take him back to the sheriff and let him hang. You are civilization, mister, and I hate you for it.
Oh, this miserable cold and my sinuses.
Haven't you heard about Dristan? Dristan, the amazing 3-layer tablet now bringing real relief from colds, misery, and sinus congestion to millions. Dristan decongestant tablets not only help drain all 8 sinus cavities, critical areas of cold's infection, but circulating through the blood, Dristan's decongestant reaches all congested areas, shrinks all swollen membranes, relieves pressure and pain. An exclusive anti-allergent helps keep breathing passages dry and clear. Pain relievers reduce body aches, fever, and vitamin C helps build body resistance. This is Dristan. Today, Dristan is widely imitated, but the exclusive Dristan formula cannot be duplicated. There's nothing like Dristan. So for real relief from colds, misery, and sinus congestion, accept only Dristan decongestant tablets.
The fight was out of the old man. He sat in a corner of the front room while I bandaged Lormer's arm. He looked neither left nor right and said nothing. By his lack of movement, he seemed to deny our existence. As we moved away from the house, I saw him come out the door and stand on the front porch, a lonely figure. Lormer gave me no more trouble. I persuaded the stage driver to drop us off on the outskirts of Little Spring, and it was 10 o'clock at night when we got into town by way of a back street.
Why are you bringing me here?
This is Radford's house, isn't it?
Yeah, but I still don't...
Never mind, you'll see.
Mr. Paladin. Lormer.
Get inside.
I told you I'd kill him, Paladin.
Don't try it, Radford.
Why are you here?
You have some rope?
Yes?
Well, get it for me so I can tie Lormer up. Then I want you to go and get the sheriff.
The sheriff?
Radford, you had a reform group in this town. I hope you're interested enough in justice to do what I tell you. And bring the sheriff and bring him alone.
All right.
And, Radford, tell him to have $3,000 with him.
Paladin, what's the meaning of this? Why did you bring Lormer here to Radford's house?
This is as good a place as any to pick up a murderer. All right, I've kept my part of the bargain, Sheriff. Lormer's back in Little Spring, alive and on time. Did you bring the money?
Yeah, here it is.
Thank you.
Now, we'll hold trial immediately. I'll call the judge. He'll open the court. All right, Lormer, let's go.
Just a minute. Didn't I hear you invite the sheriff to stay for the night, Mr. Radford?
What?
Of course you did. Sheriff, make yourself at home. We'll be here for the night and all day tomorrow. Well, it'll be an honor spending Election Day with the 2 leading candidates.
Oh, look here,
Of
Paladin.
course, you'll have time to go out and vote about 5 minutes before the polls close. You don't feel spending Election Day with a murderer like Lormer will hurt you at the polls, do you, Sheriff Akers?
Why?
Pull down the shades, Mr. Radford, and lock the door.
I hope supper's not spoiled, Jim.
Sorry I'm late, but we're taking inventory. With the nagging backache I've had and sleepless nights it gives me, I'm all dragged out.
You've been complaining of backache long enough. Don't you want to get relief?
Of course. But how?
Try Doan's pills.
Right. Doan's pills are an analgesic and mild diuretic to the kidneys. Nagging backache, also headache, dizziness, and muscular aches and pains, may come on with overexertion, emotional upsets, or everyday stress and strain. Doan's pain-relieving action is often the answer, and they also offer mild diuretic action through the kidneys. So if nagging backache is making you feel worn out, tired, and miserable with restless, sleepless nights, don't wait. Try Doan's Pills, used successfully by millions for over 60 years. See if they don't bring you the same welcome relief. Get Doan's Pills today. To save money, buy Doan's Big Economy size.
Have Gun, Will Travel. Created by Herb Meadow and Sam Rolfe, is produced and directed in Hollywood by Frank Paris and stars John Dehner as Paladin, with Ben Wright as Hayboy and Virginia Gregg as Miss Wong. Tonight's story was specially written for Have Gun, Will Travel by Arthur Lewis. Featured in the cast were Jack Moyles, Vic Perrin, Ralph Moody, and Barney Phillips. This is Hugh Douglas inviting you to join us again next week when CBS Radio presents Have Gun, Will Travel.
Six p.m. Eastern and Pacific Time on Sunday, February 14th, 1960, 65 years ago today. Have Gun, Will Travel on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Up next, we move a little further east to Dodge City, Kansas for Gunsmoke.
Civil defense is common sense. This is Boris Karloff. No one can guarantee the survival of every home during a nuclear war, but a strong civil defense can save millions of lives. Make sure that yours is one of them. Learn how to protect your home. Call Civil Defense today.
William Conrad as Marshal Matt Dillon from 65 years ago today, February 14th, 1960. This episode of Gunsmoke entitled The Distant Drummer.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad, the story of the violence that moved west with young America, and the story of a man who moved with it.
I'm that man, Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. The first man they look for and the last they want to meet. It's a chancy job, and it makes a man watchful and a little lonely.
See now. All right, Sam. Stand still.
No, tain't nothing worth your trouble, Miss Kitty.
Well, it will be if it gets any worse. Lean over.
All right. I'll thank you to have a sure hand with that needle.
Now, don't worry, Sam. I'm not much of a seamstress, but I ought to be able to catch up a rip in a pair of breeches without doing much damage. There. That ought to hold it.
Thank you, Miss Kitty.
Well, you're welcome, Sam. I just hated to see you start the day with a hole in your breeches. With that trail herd doing town, it's going to be hard enough.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what in the world's that?
Hey, look at him go there. He's heading for them swinging doors. Just maybe he keeps
play the drum in there.
I gotta hide someplace, Miss Kitty. I ain't hurting nobody.
Now, look here,
Well, I'll
Rabbit.
handle this, Sam. All right, you two, settle down.
Why, old Ratty Raffy's got a friend.
You two go along.
He's hiding behind a gal. Play your drum for her, Raffy.
I said get along. Big, strong man, aren't you, picking on the likes of Raffy? Now, you get out of here. And don't come back.
Well, what do you know about
It's all right now, Raffy. They've gone.
I wasn't doing nothing wrong, Miss Kitty.
No, of course you weren't. Come on over and sit down, huh?
You know, it's a drum, Miss Kitty. They give me misery on account of the drum.
Yeah, I know, Raffy.
Ain't nothing wrong about wearing the drum.
No, of course there isn't.
He give it to me, that captain, for Antietam. He told me to wear it proud. Always done that, Miss Kitty.
I know you have, Raffy.
I don't hardly play the drum calls no more. Don't see much need.
Well, no. With the war over and all.
But I always wear it. Like the captain said, I wear it proud. And folks give me misery.
Well, I got no right to do it. You can always come in here when they do, Raffy. You don't have to be afraid.
You're a true good lady, Miss Kitty.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yes, ma'am, you are. You're a true good lady.
Raffy, are you hungry?
Well, I ain't weak with it, Miss Kitty, but it's a fact I ain't ate yet.
Well, we'd better fix that.
Well, I ain't taking no more handouts.
But if you're hungry, Raffy...
I can work, Miss Kitty, if folks would just let me. If they'd just stop plaguing me and let me work, I could make out fine.
All right, then, Raffy. Sam?
Yes, Miss Kitty?
Come here a minute, will you?
Sure thing.
Take Raffy out to the woodshed, will you, Sam? Set him to chopping that wood out there. He wants to work.
Well, sure. Come along, boy.
I'm obliged to you, ma'am. Oh, Miss Kitty,
What is it, Raffy?
will you watch after the drum for me? I wouldn't want nothing to happen to it after the captain trusted it to me like he did.
Sure, Raffy. Sure. I'll watch after it. No, it was enough to break your heart. As soon as he'd chopped the wood, he came back in, and I gave him his money, and he hung that drum around his neck again and left. Poor boy.
Yeah. You want some more gravy, Kitty?
No, thanks, man.
Doc?
No, not for me. It's better with this food not to cover it up while you're eating it.
You know where Rappy went, Kitty?
No, I don't. He just appears now and again, and he's always in trouble. Somebody's always plaguing him, as he says.
No, it's a shame.
What's the answer to it, Doc? What makes Raffy... Well, what makes him the way he is?
That's hard to say, Kitty. Maybe it's just too much war.
He must have been very young during the fighting.
Well, his mind hasn't grown any older.
Why would he hang on to the drum then, Doc, if it reminds him of a bad time?
I can't tell about these things for sure, man. Maybe because the drum was the last thing he was ever proud of.
Oh, Miss Kitty, Marshal.
Hello, Dopey.
Hello, Dopey.
I couldn't help overhearing your conversation. I was sitting right over there.
You got good ears.
Hey, you know, I think it's important to know what this fellow Raffy might do. The town has a right to know.
Well, he can't tell for sure. He might go along just as he is for the rest of his life, wearing that drum around his neck and being crucified for it. And then again, he might decide to turn on somebody someday.
Well, you couldn't blame him.
Well, then, Marshal, I say you ought to take steps.
How do you figure that, Dovey?
Well, either way, he isn't doing the town any good. He might turn mean and cause trouble. Even if he doesn't, he gets in the way of the town's normal citizens wandering around that way wearing that drum night and day.
Oh, come on now, Dobie. I can't arrest the boy for that.
Well, Doc just said he might cause trouble. It'd be better to act now than...
You listen to me, Dobie. If he causes trouble, it'll be because he's been driven to it by normal citizens. And I'd spend some time talking to him about it.
Dylan?
Right here, Chester.
Like somebody's been after Chester.
What's the trouble?
Mr. Dillon, you better come right away. It's that Raffy Blight.
I told you, Marshal.
What's he done, Chester?
He ain't done nothing. But some of the boys has got him treed down there at the livery stable.
You better come with us, Doc.
Are you one of those people who are always on the go? Like you, our CBS newsmen are on the move all the time, too. Always in the direction of the biggest news developments of the day. Their own busy schedules give them a practical understanding of the value listeners put upon their services. They know you rely on them for accuracy at all times. They have a first-hand appreciation of the importance of clarity and brevity as well. That all of these standards are kept in mind by our highly skilled, highly experienced newsmen is demonstrated over and over again in the frequent news broadcasts you hear on CBS Radio. The busier your own day, the more you'll appreciate the efforts of our CBS News staff. These men offer you a direct link with history day by day. But more than that, they do their job with full regard for your busy schedule. They keep you fully informed with no waste of time, no waste of words. For accuracy, brevity, and clarity in news reports, for news at frequent intervals and at convenient times, keep tuned to CBS Radio every day.
No, please.
Go ahead, Sloat. Give the rope another little pull. Swing the drum out there.
No. Sure, Bull.
If you want it, Rappy, you'll have to crawl out on that branch.
My drum. You give me my drum.
Crawl on out there.
But it's too far.
Oh, you can do it, sure. Hey, he looks just like a monkey up there, don't he?
It's too far.
You wouldn't have to be up no tree to look like a monkey. Swing the drum out more, Sloat. Down the end of that limb there.
Well, it's getting kind of thin down there, Bull.
I said swing that drum.
All right, Bull, all right.
Go ahead, kid. Let's see you get your full drum. Crawl out there.
No.
Go ahead, crawl.
Please, mister.
Oh, come on now. If you want it, go get it.
It's too far.
If you don't crawl out and get it, Rappy, I'm going to shoot it full of holes like this.
Please don't shoot it. I'll get it.
Go on, then. That's right.
Let me pull in the drum, Bull. He's going to fall sure.
Leave it be.
Bull, he's hurt himself.
Oh, he's too simple to be hurt bad. Come on, Sloat. Let's get it.
All right, just a minute.
Come on.
Take a look at the boy, Doc.
Sure, man.
All right, you men. You're in an awful hurry to get away all of a sudden.
Oh, why, Marshal, there ain't no reason to hang around.
The show's over, is that it?
I know what you're talking about, Marshal. This boy just fell out in the tree.
You know what I'm talking about, all right, and so do the rest of you men.
Well, now, Marshal...
A bunch of real live two-legged coyotes.
Now, listen here.
Well, you listen to me. If I catch you, any one of you, deviling this boy again, falling out of a tree won't seem easy to you. Now, go on and get out of here.
Well, we was going anyway.
Just remember, you leave this boy alone. How is he, Doc?
Well, can't tell yet, man. He's unconscious. I'll have to get him to the office.
All right. A couple of you men give us a hand here to get him to Doc's.
And there you go, Raffy. That cool cloth ought to make you feel better.
My head.
Yeah, it hurts pretty bad, doesn't it?
It hurts.
Well, I expect it does. You took quite a blow, but it's going to be all right, Raffy. Nothing to worry about.
Does he come to, Doc?
Yes, Matt. He's conscious.
He gonna be all right?
I think so, Matt. Yeah, there's no signs of a fracture or concussion.
Oh, that's good. Well, Raffy, you feeling better?
My drum. You got my drum?
Yeah, I got it. It's down in my office.
Well, nothing happened to it.
Oh, I think it's safe enough.
That's good. I sure do thank you, Marshal.
It's all right. It's all right. You come get it when you're feeling better, huh?
Yes, sir. I gotta do that. You know, it seems like folks don't like me to wear it. Why don't they, Marshal?
Well, maybe it's because they just don't know any better.
I ain't never hurt nobody. They ain't got no call to hurt me.
That's right.
Them folks who hurt me, they ought to learn different, Marshal.
Yeah. That's what I came to tell you. I'm going to see that they do.
I can see it real clear, Marshal. Real clear. Them folks need to learn it real good. Them folks that hurt me, they gotta be taught different.
Here's mail, Mr. Dillon.
Oh, thanks, Chester.
Well? Well, Mr. Dillon?
What?
Well, seems to me you'd want to know what's in it. Seems to me a man should ought to open up his mail when he gets it. Might even be government business.
Chester, what are you muttering about?
Well, I just can't understand, Mr. Dillon, after I went and fetched it to you and all, why you don't open it up. The mail.
All right, Chester, I'll open it up. Expecting something special?
No, sir, I ain't. Tell you the truth, I could see there wasn't nothing there worth bothering about.
You put on a pretty good show of bothering.
Well, it just seems to me that a man should ought to open up his mail, whether it's worth anything or not.
Oh, you wouldn't listen, Marshal. You were too bullheaded and stubborn to listen.
What's on your mind, Dobie?
I told you last week right there in the restaurant. I told you ought to do something about
Oh, come on, Dobie. What are you sputtering about?
it. That boy, that Raffy Blight. I told you he'd cause trouble.
Oh, what's happened?
It's worse than I even expected. And you could have prevented it.
Dobie, quit babbling and tell me what's happened.
He's killed him.
Who's been killed?
Bull Ramsey's been killed. And Raffy did it. They found a drumstick by the body. And now we got a lynching on our hands.
Where are they?
They're taking him to hang him. And it should never happen.
Dobie, where are they?
They're taking him out west of town.
All right, come on, Chester. Bring the rifles.
There they are, Mr. Dillon, in that clump of trees.
Yeah.
They've got him up on a horse. But it don't look like they've got the rope on him yet.
They're lucky. All right, let him go.
We was just trying to help the law, Marshal.
I'll take care of the law. I said let him go.
Sure, you can have him if you want to waste jail space on a murderer.
I gotta have a lot more than your say-so on that, Sloat.
Why, it's plain as plain. Everybody knows he had it in for Bull.
Never mind, Sloat. If he needs to be tried, he'll be tried by a judge, not by you.
And that drumstick...
I said never mind. Chester.
Yes, sir.
Untie Rappy's hands and take that gag out of his mouth.
Yes, sir.
Now lead his horse over here.
Yes, sir.
That's my horse he's on, Marshal. You ain't going to take it.
He's riding it back to town, Sloat, and I wouldn't argue about it if I were you. I'm going to have to keep you here for a little while, Rappy.
It's all right, Marshal. You ain't one to plague me.
No. No, nobody will plague you here. Now, you can go on in.
Thank you. Marshal. What they're saying about me killing that Bull Ramsey.
Yeah?
Well, I don't think I ever killed nobody, Marshal.
Well, I hope you're right about that, Rappy.
I don't recollect too good about last night. My head was hurting real bad, and I just don't recollect too good.
Well, don't worry about it. We'll find out.
I know I was out there some. I was trying to cool my head in the night.
Now. All right, Rappy. I'll see you later.
Oh, Marshal?
Yeah? What's that?
My drum, Marshal. Have you got my drum?
Chester found it, yeah. We'll take care of it for you.
I thank you for that. Oh, and here, Marshal, you might as well take care of these two.
What? What have you got there?
Well, my drumsticks, Marshal. I always keep them right here in my shirt. I only got one set, you know.
Are they both there?
Oh, sure, they're both here. You take care of them for me, Marshal?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Out of tune because of irregularity? Kellogg's All Bran helps put you back in tune. Kellogg's All Bran is the natural way, the good food way to end constipation caused by lack of bulk in your diet. There's only one All Bran, Kellogg's All Bran. Its whole bran content gentles away constipation, supplies your system with the bulk-forming food you need. Kellogg's All Bran is the only whole bran cereal to bring you the combination of proved effectiveness, appetizing taste, and crispness. It never gets mushy in milk. So get back in tune and stay in tune. It's easy with the one and only Kellogg's All Bran, ALL-BRAN. Safe, reliable, pleasant. Millions enjoy it every day. They know they can count on Kellogg's All Bran to relieve irregularity.
There you are, Mr. Curtin. Here's your change. And here's your parcel. I'll be right with you, Marshal.
No hurry.
Thank you, Mr. Jonas.
I should have that new bolt calico any day now.
Oh, that's fine. I'll stop in again soon. Goodbye, Mr. Jonas.
Goodbye, Miss Curtin. Now then, Marshal, something I can do for you?
I sure hope so. Tell me, Jonas, do you sell drums here?
Well, I had a couple a few years ago. But ain't stocked them recent, Marshal. Tell you the truth, I
I don't get much call for drums in Dodge City.
I suppose not. I guess you don't get a call for drumsticks either, huh?
Well, now, that beats all.
Now, what do you mean?
You'd think we was getting ready for a parade or something.
How's that?
You're the second feller in 2 days come in here to ask him after drumsticks.
Oh? Well, who was the other one?
Well, I don't rightly know his name, Marshal. Big, thin fella. Used to steam around town with Bull Ramsey.
Yeah. But you didn't have any drumsticks, is that right?
Oh, I found a pair, Marshal. But I didn't really need it.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, this fella only wanted one. I made him buy the two, though. Now, what in tarnation would a fella want with just one drumstick, Marshal?
I'll see you later, Jonas.
So the marshal got there too fast for you, did he, Sloat? No sense to it. No sense to it at all. Well, now, lynching ain't a very nice thing to do.
It ain't gonna make no difference to that boy. No difference at all.
Well, now you can't tell.
Well, they're gonna hang him one way or another, sure as sure.
Sloat, I want to talk to you.
I ain't hard to find, Marshal.
I want that other drumstick.
Drumstick? You're talking crazy, Marshal.
I want the drumstick you didn't leave by Bull's body.
Now, listen here, that Raffy. He's the one with the drumstick.
That's right, Sloat. And he's still got two of them.
Now, listen, Marshal.
I've been listening. I've been listening to Jonas.
Jonas?
Yeah, he sells drumsticks.
Well, it wasn't me. It was some other fella.
No, it wasn't, Sloat. It was you. Trying to buy just one drumstick so you could kill Bull and blame Raffy.
You can't prove it.
I don't have to prove it. Because you're going to tell me about it. Aren't you? Isn't that right, Sloat?
Go, Marshal.
Isn't that right, Sloat?
Yeah.
All right, come on. I don't think Raffy will mind giving up his cell to you. Raffy, here's your drum.
Thank you kindly, Marshal. I sure am proud to be wearing it again.
Yeah. Well, things ought to be better for you around here now. I don't think folks are going to bother you anymore.
I'm right glad to hear that.
I'm pretty sure we can fix you up with some odd jobs. Jonas and Dobie already got some chores you can do.
Thank you, Marshal, but I think it's time for me to be moving on.
Well, I can't say I blame you after the way they treated you in Dodge. But things will be better now.
Maybe they will, Marshal. But it's time I moved on anyway.
I don't know why.
Well, I don't know why either, Marshal. But I don't rightly belong nowhere. I keep looking for a place. I ain't never found it yet. I just gotta keep moving on.
Well, that's up to you.
Funny, ain't it, Marshal, for a drummer boy like me to be always out of step?
There are a lot of folks more out of step than you are, Raffy. I see them all the time.
Produced and directed in Hollywood by Norman Macdonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. The story was specially written for Gunsmoke by Marion Clark, with editorial supervision by John Meston. Harley Bear is Chester, Howard McNear is Doc, and Georgia Ellis is Kitty. This is George Walsh inviting you to join us again next week when CBS Radio presents another story on Gunsmoke.
6:30 on both coasts, both Eastern and Pacific times, on Sunday, February 14th, 1960 rather. Gunsmoke here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, ending our extended look at this date in old-time radio 65 years ago today. We'll wrap everything up as we always do with an episode of Claudia.
This is Art Linkletter. In event of atomic bombing or some other catastrophe, here's something important to remember. It will help save lives, including your own. Do not use the telephone. Leave the line open for official rescue and relief. This is your part in civil defense. Remember, don't use the phone. Leave the line clear for safety of your own life and the lives of others.
As you know, we always end our podcasts with either Claudia or Lum and Abner or Superman. And today we're wrapping it up with an episode of Claudia. This goes back 76 years, February 14th, 1949.
Your Coca-Cola bottler presents Claudia. Claudia, based on the famous play and novels by Rose Franken. Brought to you transcribed Monday through Friday by your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. Relax, and while you're listening, refresh yourself. Have a Coke. And now, Claudia.
That's a pretty nice fire you made this evening, Mrs. Norton. Hey, what are you doing over there?
Oh, darning.
Darning.
Bobby's ripping all the knees out of all his breeches. Wish he'd stop creeping around so much.
You cheer up. When he starts walking, you'll be darning his socks.
Well, that's something to look forward to. There's one advantage with women's stockings. Once they tear, they're gone.
Oh, extravagant little woman, aren't you?
Just lazy. What are you walking around looking for?
How can you tell I'm looking for something?
Just the way you look, not aimless.
Got him. I was looking for my matches.
Well, I hope you've got them. I strewed them all over the living room. In every nook and cranny, you will find matches.
Mm-hmm. The perfect wife.
That's me.
Well, no, I'm all settled.
Good.
Well, what'd you do all day, perfect wife?
Told you, I strewed matches.
Oh, you must be exhausted.
I am. What'd you do all day?
Nothing special.
Sounds to me as if it was a pretty good day from the way you sound.
Well, as a matter of fact, it was.
What was?
Everything.
David, don't tease me. Tell me. Come on.
Oh, my, aren't we curious?
Listen, now let's get one thing straight right here.
Only one thing.
Firstly, I happen to know you're positively bursting to tell me all about what happened today.
Yes, I'm just bursting.
Bursting?
Yeah.
You've been bursting ever since you came into this house.
I have?
You've been walking around. You've been tentative and vague. You've been starting sentences and not finishing them.
What do you want to do?
You
Gin
just
rummy?
tell me what you did all day, darling. Get it off your chest. I'm all settled back. I'm ready to listen, but I am not curious.
Ooh.
Well, go on. Talk.
You're making me self-conscious.
Talk.
No, all right. I'll talk.
Good.
No, there's nothing really worth telling you about.
To think that only 2 minutes ago I thought you were so nice. How fickle life
Well,
is.
then, to bring back your faith, I had lunch with a very interesting chap.
Aha, you see?
Mm-hmm. He's with the building commission.
Building commission.
He's sort of a architectural engineer.
Well, that's nice. Where?
New York.
I mean, where did you have lunch with him?
Is that all you're interested in?
Well, isn't that what you started to tell me?
Well, he's working on a new kind of roof tiling.
Oh, lovely.
It would reduce the cost of housing.
That's good.
You see, the average layman doesn't realize how important roof tiling is.
No, I'm sure we don't.
Now, the weight of tiling, for instance, affects the entire structure of the house.
Oh, fascinating.
Then it has to be laid.
Mm-hmm.
The man-hours involved, they're Very important in any housing estimate.
David, you really like being an architect, don't you?
It's what I be.
Must be nice to talk to other people who are interested in the same thing. Very fascinating, exciting.
You know, that boy had some really good ideas.
Darling, where did you have lunch?
I knew you'd come back to that again.
And why don't you tell me?
We had lunch at a restaurant.
You don't say.
Mm-hmm. And I ate calf's liver with onions.
Lots of onions?
Lots of onions.
Sounds delicious.
It was. He told me about some modern housing developments in Brazil that he worked on a year ago. You know, they're really making great strides down there.
Well, what strides, David? Tell me.
You're not very interested.
Of course I am, very. Well, what else did you do all day?
Now, come on. Now, you haven't told me what you had for lunch and where.
Well, I had lunch right here.
Oh.
Can't remember what it was. Oh, yes, scrambled eggs.
Scrambled eggs.
They were too soft and too wet.
Well, I don't like them soft and wet.
No, neither did I.
And why did you eat them soft and wet?
Because Bertha was doing the laundry.
Oh. Well, that explains everything.
Anyway, I just couldn't be bothered. I thought they'd be all right, and... Oh, well, what's the difference? I ate them.
Is that all?
Guess I wasn't hungry. Couldn't seem to get enough salt into anything.
You know, you're making an awful lot of sense.
Oh, you know, nothing tasted really right, but... Oh, well, what's the difference?
A big difference.
David, tell me, what else did you do?
Oh, I talked to Mama on the phone.
Mama!
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you tell me? What'd she have to say? How is she? Did she miss us?
Yes, she had things to say. Yes, she is fine. Yes, she misses us. Mama was very amusing today.
You sound as if everybody was amusing today.
Everybody was.
Well, I wish you were contagious. Come on, tell me more about Mama.
Well, Mama hoped you were well.
I am?
She hoped the baby was well.
Yes?
She hoped I was well.
Oh. Well, Mama certainly was amusing today.
Well, that's all.
My, what a thrilling conversation.
It was nice. Considering it was my mother-in-law, it was nice.
That's nice.
A fine woman, my mother-in-law. Takes after her daughter.
And her son-in-law.
Well, I won't argue.
Didn't Mama say anything else?
What do you want her to say?
Nothing.
And Roger, too.
Roger, too, what?
Roger seemed to be very happy today. He was feeling very chipper.
Do you mean to say he didn't have one little stomach ache all day?
Nope, not one.
That is a record.
Sure is. He even was all full of schemes for making $1 million. Nothing seemed impossible to him.
Which just goes to show you what no indigestion does for people.
Sure does. He told me a very amusing story about himself.
Oh, tell me.
No, you'll have to get Roger to tell you himself.
Oh, David.
Well, the main thing that was amusing about it was that he was so delighted with it that he laughed all the way through it. I hardly heard a word he was saying.
Well,
it didn't matter. You know, Roger's all right.
It must be very pleasant spending a day in an office with him.
Yeah. Particularly when everything goes well, like today. We received an order for a new job, and some checks arrived.
Oh, good.
We heard from clients that we hadn't expected to hear from. Oh, we're going to make out, darling. Now, you just wait and see.
I don't have to wait, darling. I know you'll make out. Oh,
Ooh, what a sigh just went by.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sigh. I was just wondering what it'd be like to be busy, busy, busy all day.
Well, aren't you busy, busy, busy all day? You always say you are.
Well, I suppose I am, but in a different way than you.
Oh, I see.
You spend all day talking to people and learning new things and doing business. And
I have to.
that all seems very full and exciting and, well, exciting.
You said that.
Now, what do I do, really? The world can get along without me beautifully. I dress the baby and I play with him and feed him, then I feed myself, then I talk to people like the grocer and the butcher and the cleaners and the mailwoman and...
You sound very busy, as if you did a great deal of talking.
Oh, I don't have much time to sit around. It's not that, but... I'd just like to have been a fly on your wall today, David.
A fly?
Right in the thick of things. It's funny, I knew the minute you walked into the house you'd had a good day.
And I knew the minute that I walked into the house that you were down in the dumps.
I was not down in the dumps. I'm not now, either.
Maybe just a little down, maybe.
I'm not a down in the dumps person, and I'd certainly hate myself if I were.
Well, now, that's silly. That is the silly... Now, look, you have as much right to be down in the dumps as anybody else.
Well, that's sweet, only it's not true.
It certainly
I have
is.
no right. You know what? All day I thought it was going to snow. And then you know what?
What?
It rained. Well, that's a fine how do you do.
Well, that's life.
Yes, it is.
Was the baby upset today?
No, why?
No reason.
Well, I suppose it was just one of those days.
One of what days? Be specific, will you?
One of those days when I combed my hair and nothing happened.
Will you say that again?
Well, for instance, I was sitting around feeling something that had to happen soon.
Mm-hmm.
When nothing happened, I thought, well, I'll comb my hair. And nothing happened.
I'm feeling something and I'll comb my hair. So I suppose that a mind reader might understand what you're saying.
Don't you really understand, David?
No,
there
I
it
don't.
was, hanging limp.
What was?
My hair, of course. What do you think we're talking about?
And it was hanging limp.
Utterly limp.
It doesn't look hanging limp to me.
Well, it feels hanging limp. You know, maybe I'd have it all cut off. Shaved, maybe.
Shaved, that's a good idea.
No, I guess I'll wash it soon, and it'll be better. But I just did wash it, didn't I? Oh, well.
Mm-hmm. Now I see.
Now you see what?
Now I see behind that hair hanging limp.
Well, then you must be a ventriloquist.
A what?
No, that's somebody who talks without talking.
Right.
David, what is a man who sees through things?
A husband.
Only very special husbands, darling.
So you were sitting here wishing that you were me, is that it?
No, I didn't say that.
You may well say. You may not even realize it, but that's what you were wishing.
Oh, nonsense.
Mm-hmm. You were a little jealous of my going down to New York every day. All sounds very exciting to you, doesn't it?
When you tell about it, it does sound exciting. But I'm not jealous. David, I love you. How can I be jealous
Now,
of you?
love and being jealous have nothing to do with each other. And, darling, I'm not criticizing.
Aren't you?
Of course not. Things only seem good to me because of you.
What does? What does?
Everything. Work, play, people, architecture even.
David, I know I'm not bright, but Einstein wouldn't understand you now.
Well, now you just listen and learn. You see, when I see somebody interesting, I say to myself, I must tell Claudia about this. Or if we get a new contract for a new job, why, that means the second cow that we want to buy, or the brake front you saw and fell in love with. That is the simple meaning of everything, darling.
David, you're not just saying all this.
No. Why should I?
Well, you just might.
You know, I bet you sometimes during the day you forget that I love you.
I never forget I love you.
Well, that's good.
David, when tomorrow comes, you don't have to send me one single Valentine.
No, I had no intentions of it.
Good. Because you've just given me the best Valentine of all. You know, it's funny. A person sometimes forgets the bottom of things.
Hey, did you say tomorrow?
Yeah, Valentine's Day.
Well, isn't today the 14th?
So?
Hey, wait a minute. Let me look at my calendar. Yep. Yes, sir. Look at that. There it is. It's today.
What is today?
The 14th, right there in front of you. And the 14th in anybody's calendar is Valentine's Day.
You mean today is the...
I certainly do.
Today is... Then it is today.
Mm-hmm. We're a fine couple, aren't we? We both forgot.
Oh, darling. Doesn't matter if we forget Valentine's Day, so long as we never forget to love each other.
These broadcasts are adapted for radio by Manya Starr, and the entire production is supervised and directed by William Brown Maloney. When holidays are as frivolous and gay as St. Valentine's Day, they call for equally gay celebration with bright decorations, light music, and for refreshment, ice-cold Coca-Cola. As a matter of fact, you can dispense with the decorations if you have enough Coke to go around, for Coke brings to any social gathering the pause that refreshes. Every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir. And remember, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you may be, when you think of refreshment, think of Coca-Cola. For Coca-Cola makes any pause the pause that refreshes. And ice-cold Coca-Cola is everywhere.
And there you go. 76 years ago, February 14th, 1949, Claudia on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Comedy tomorrow, the Screen Guild Theater with Dorothy Lamour and Bob Hope, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, Fibber McGee and Molly, Father Knows Best, and another episode of Claudia. Thanks for being with us here on this Friday edition of Classic Radio Theater. I'm Wyatt Cox.